So let me tell you a little bit about Margaret. A native of North Carolina, Margaret Bowles attended the University of North Carolina School of Journalism and received a law degree from the University of Missouri, Kansas City. She lived in Tampa for 40 years, practicing as a real estate attorney. And currently, she and her husband, Bob, live part of the year in Winter Park, Colorado, and part of the year in Tampa, Florida. Margaret Bowles has been photographing sports professionally since 2003, and she started as a freelance photographer for a local newspaper in Charlotte, North Carolina. Her love for sports photography was a natural outgrowth of her passion for sports. She is self-taught and spent years working her way through the ranks, photographing nearly every sport along the way. In 2008, she relocated to Houston, where she was a stringer for the Houston Chronicle and the Associated Press. The years in Houston photographing high school and college football greatly advanced her career, and in 2012, she was one of 2 Associated Press freelance photographers from the US to photograph the Olympics in London. In 2017, she was selected as one of 16 freelance Associated Press photographers nationwide to photograph the NFL games. She now photographs 40 plus NFL games per year and has photographed the Super Bowl 3 times. She also shoots the Rockies, which everybody wants to shoot right now. So yeah, really shoot them. Grand slam today for the other team, seriously? Anyway, I lost my place. Okay, so she also shoots the Rockies and winter sports. Her husband, Bob, gentleman over there, is a longtime Winter Park resident where he has spent 45 years on the ski patrol. By the way, Tom and Bob are friends, and that's how we got Margaret, in case you're wondering, the whole circle of, what is it, five degrees of separation here or whatever. Okay, they have a beautiful polar lab, Brady, named after the legendary goat, Tom Brady. May I introduce Margaret Bowles. Turn the lights down for you too.
First of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm really honored to be here. And thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, the way I've got this presentation set up, I'm going to go through some sort of basics with sports photography. And then at the end, I've got a video with some of the photographs. It's all football. I know, I think Tom or someone mentioned that it was going to be skiing, and I have done all of that, but really my forte is football, and in particular the NFL. So that's my photos are all football. And I also brought my 2012 Olympics, some from the Olympics, because that was maybe the single most wonderful experience of my life was shooting the Olympics. Nothing compares. Hardest work I've ever done. It was 3 weeks of like a Super Bowl every day. Every single day was, 16-hour days, the hardest work ever, but in the end, the most rewarding ever. So I brought some photographs from the Olympics to show you. If you have any questions, you can ask them. Once my photography video starts, you probably won't have a chance to ask questions until the end. So the first part of this, I'm talking, and if you have some questions, you can go ahead and ask me. So.
Yes. Sorry, Tom. I forgot. Zoom audience, would you please turn off your video, mute yourselves, and and use the chat for any questions. See, I did it.
Okay.
Thanks, Margaret.
Okay, sure. So you've already heard my bio, so I won't bore you with more about that. It's sort of an interesting story about how I got into photography. That's me. I was born in North Carolina. That's where the accent comes from. And I'm also a lawyer. I'm still practicing. A little bit part-time, I work for a law firm remotely, law firm in Philadelphia. So all of my photography has come, I would work all day and then in the evenings and on weekends is when I would do my photography. So I have never ceased being a lawyer. Okay, keep going. Go. Okay. This is a friend of mine. This guy was Jacksonville Jaguars photographer. He helped me along the way to sort of build my portfolio. All right, so for sports photography, first question is, what do you need? What do you need as a sports photographer? Sorry, getting this. Okay, first of all, the proper equipment. So there's my bag. I brought it with me tonight. But right now, you've got to have, for football in particular, you got to have a long lens. You got to have a lens that'll shoot from the end zone to about a 50-yard line. This is a Canon gear, all mirrorless is what I use. I carry 2 camera bodies, and this is a 100 to 300 2.8 Canon lens with a 1.4 extender, which gives me almost a 400 millimeter range. For a long time, many years, I was using a 600 millimeter lens and camera, and it just got to be so heavy. It really got exhausting because during a football game, when I'm shooting a game, I'll run about 4 miles during the game, running back and forth up and down the sidelines. And so my goal over the last couple of years has been to lighten my load. And so that's what I've got now is the mirrorless, which is lighter than the than the DSLR, and then the new lenses that Canon's come out with, and Sony and everybody else, they're all much lighter now. And so I've gradually changed my gear so that it's a little bit lighter. And as I get older, it gets burdensome to have that heavy gear.
The 1-300.
Yeah, this lens is a 100 to 300. That's a new lens. Canon came out with it last year, and it's a 2.8. So I know a lot of the sports photographers covet this lens, especially for basketball. For football, it's like I said, I put a 1.4 extender on it, which gives it almost 400 millimeter range. So the vast majority of photographers that I shoot with use a 400 millimeter lens. And this one is as close as I can get to that. I prefer this one. It's got a lot of versatility. Having the zoom, the 100 to 300 zoom is very versatile. I can shoot from the sidelines or I can shoot from the end zone. And with the zoom, it's I like the versatility of it. When I was using a 600 millimeter, of course, I can prime and you can't zoom it. And so I could never, for example, if I wanted to shoot the quarterback, I'm standing on the sidelines. It's too tight. It's too tight of a shot. So I would have to use a different body and a different lens just for the sideline shot. So it got to be, there's a lot of shifting gear around, up and down. And with this, I can pretty much use one camera body, one lens for the whole game. I also carry a wide angle. This is an R5, and this is a 24 to 105 Canon. I use this for end zone shots when they get inside about the 10-yard line. This is what I'll use. I'll put this one down, and then I'll use this. They'd like me to get a celebration shot. A lot of times the guys come into the end zone and they're all dancing and whatever. So you need the wider lens for that. Any other questions?
The 1-300, does it have built-in teleconverter? You have to put another one on.
It does not have a built-in. I had to buy that separately. The 200 to 400, which is what I used last year, of course, does have a built-in converter. This lens is sharper. This is sharper than the 200 to 400. So it's a better lens. Physical fitness. Again, like I said, it's a very, very physically demanding job. I do run about like I said, 4 miles during the game typically. And like this last weekend, I did 3 games, one in New York, one in Baltimore, and then one in Phoenix. So I ran more than 4. I probably ran 15 miles over the course of 3 days with this stuff. So as a result, you have to be physically fit. I lift weights religiously. I run, I do whatever it takes because I'm out there competing with, 30-year-old guys, and I have to be able to keep up. So,
Quick question.
sure.
You have, you mentioned about several cameras. You carry those on you
Yeah.
all the time as you
Mhm.
go up and down the field?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just being physically shape, it's packing equipment.
Extremely. And then this bag, this bag here, when you put all your camera gear on it, it probably weighs 45 pounds.
Yeah.
And in the airplanes, I have to put it in the overhead compartment. And I'm only 5'3", so I have to be able to lift up all that gear as well as, carry it around with me. So, yeah, so for a long time I was carrying 3 camera bodies and 3 lenses, and I've gradually been economizing because it's really it really is physically taxing. That's me during the winter. I like to ski, so that's me and the dog. Okay, the next thing is knowledge of the game. This is a book by Pat Kerwin, Take Your Eye Off the Ball. But I listen to the NFL station on Sirius Radio. It's channel 88. I listen to it almost all the time because they're always talking about the players, who's injured, who's not, who's playing well, who's not. So you have to understand the sport in order to be in the right spot at the right time. And that's true with any sport. I've done almost all of them. So basketball, baseball, as a kid, I was a big baseball fan and I read every book on baseball. So when I go and shoot a Rockies game, I pretty much know what's going to happen and where the play is going to go, where the batter is going to hit. I mean, you just have to really understand the sport. Football, extremely complicated. You watch them on TV and they've got all the, the calls they're doing and the plays they're calling. And if you're like some teams, for example, the quarterback will throw to the right side most of the time. Sometimes they'll throw across their body. You got to know the team. You got to know the players. You just got to understand it in order to be in the right spot on the field to catch the shot that you need. So knowledge of the game is important. I've done sports where I didn't know anything about what was happening, and you might as well be shooting blind. I mean, it's like, I don't know where I'm supposed to be, or so that's really important. Okay, this is a big one. Perseverance and passion. This is me looking bedraggled during the rain. There's nothing worse than shooting a game in the rain. And this is me during COVID. As you can see, the stands are empty. That's my 600 millimeter there. I had to put this one in here. This was hilarious. So during COVID, we were allowed we couldn't go down on the field during COVID. They made us shoot from the stands. We could shoot from the first row and the rows were all empty. So I took this photograph at the Broncos game because I thought it was hilarious. All those people in the stands are cardboard cutouts. But, and we had to wear masks and, you couldn't breathe and you're running around and you're trying to get the shots. It was very taxing during COVID. To try to shoot. Okay, this is all right. So the other thing I absolutely hate is cold weather games. So I shot a game in Kansas City. It was 3 degrees. I had heated gloves, heated socks, heated shirt, and all the batteries died after the 3rd quarter. So my fingers froze. It was miserable. So this was me freezing to death. Fingers wouldn't even work. You know, I'd try to press the button and it wouldn't. So it was miserable. So, but perseverance, you gotta gut it out. Players are out there. You gotta be out there. Okay, the NFL. Okay, so what I do, I work for the Associated Press. I'm an independent contractor with the Associated Press. My contract is with the Associated Press. Associated Press has the license with the NFL. So any commercial football shots, people who want to buy a photograph, buy it from the AP because they have the license with the NFL to sell photographs. My group of people, and we're now down to 13 of us nationwide, we shoot commercially. I have been an Associated Press photographer to do the editorial side of football, where you might see one of my photographs in a newspaper. You won't see any of my photographs in the newspaper now. I did that for 3 years, and then I switched over to the commercial side, much more lucrative. But my photographs, you'll see of the football cards, billboards, stadiums, you know, anywhere there's a commercial photograph, that's what I do. So my shots are all geared toward what's going to sell, what photograph is going to sell. So if you take, for example, a key action shot, you know, a pass in the end zone, that's an editorial shot. That's not a commercial shot, probably. My stuff is more geared toward stuff that you might see on a football card or on a billboard versus something that's more newsworthy. I'm not that interested. I don't care that much about the score or the scoring shot. So what makes a good sports photograph? Okay, this is obvious. This is any photograph, right? Good exposure, good sharpness, good color balance. We cannot make any changes to our photographs. We can't increase the vibrance. We can't really Photoshop anything. The only thing we can do is add a little bit of sharpness, and I mean a little bit, and we can either, if we can lighten them up and maybe, you know, or darken them a little bit or lighten them up, but we can't do any other Photoshopping of our photographs. We'll get fired if we do that. So it's really important going in that you have everything set up correctly. So, all right, here's Max Crosby. This is one I took. He looks a little green on this screen, but it's actually when you look at it on my screen, it's a little better. But that's got good exposure, good blurred background. It's a good portrait. I just wanted to show an example. Okay, so
That looks great on my laptop.
okay, now this one, on the other hand, this is a good action shot, but look how yellow it is. So color balance was off on that. It was in, where the heck is that? It looks like it's in Pittsburgh, maybe. Where's that? Chicago, really? Okay. Anyway, the lights, it was probably under the lights. And so it's hard shooting under the lights because the lights cycle in and out. And so we can use the little pointer, what is it? The little paintbrush. We can change the color balance. If it's this much off, we can change it. But I wanted to show you that one because it's a good action shot, but the color balance is off. And Travis Kelce, it's another good one here. It was that cold day, and I like the steam coming out of his mouth. But anyway, good exposure, good sharpness, just another example. Peak action. In sports, peak action is everything. You want to get the player just as he's catching the ball. Here's one. Okay, this is good peak action. You can see the ball and right in the tips of his fingers. The guy hadn't tackled him yet. He's up in the air. That's peak action. The next one that I'm going to show you is not. So let's give you an idea. Let's see here, this one. Okay. All right, this guy, let me stop it. Okay, stop. Okay, so he's already caught the ball. He's on his way down. This is really a nothing shot. I just put it in here to show you that it's past peak action. And though, you know, it's good color and everything else, but it really, you know, that's not one that you would pick out of your photos to you know, to put up on the what happens is, just so you know, when I take my photographs and I edit them, I caption them, I put them up into the Associated Press's archive. So anybody that's looking for a photograph of this number 89 here would go in there, put in his name, and any photos that I'd taken would pop up there. So that's what I do with my photos. They go into an archive for the Associated Press, and anybody who has a membership to the Associated Press archives can go in there and buy. And the AP acts as our agent, our agent.
I have a question. I was watching a YouTube video on a couple weeks ago. They were talking about a lot of the photographers now, as they're shooting, those are getting uploaded straight to the press, like almost instantaneously as they're shooting.
That's correct. And what happens is what the stadiums now have these Ethernet cables, and you can actually you go and you find out before I don't do it that way. I don't have to do it that way, but a lot of the ones that are shooting for the newspapers and for the webs, you know, the websites, they will go and plug in right down there on the field. And you see them do it at the Rockies games. I see it all the time. I did do a Rockies game for the AP, and I took my laptop down to the field. And once I'd taken the photos, I was editing and sending them from down on the field. So, yeah, it's.
So they're basically, they're just sending this raw.
They are, yeah, because they probably have people editing back wherever they are. They'll upload them. Somebody's going through. That's correct. Yeah.
Typical game, how many do you shoot? Typical game, would you say?
I shot about 3,000 a game. I shoot about 3,000 a game. And then we are limited in the amount that we can actually put into the archive. So out of those 3,000, I pick 350. So 1 out of every 10 gets picked.
So another quick question.
Sure.
So you send yours to an archive and you said you do the commercial.
Yeah.
So if they pick your photos out of that archive, that's how you get paid?
Yes, yes. They get yes. And again, the Associated Press is acting as the agent. So they pay the Associated Press and the Associated Press pays me. And there's a licensing fee depending on how the photograph's being used. So, you know, for website, you don't make any money. Those are, you know, a couple bucks. But, you know, if it gets into a magazine or a billboard, it's a lot more. Yeah, they do. But otherwise, you know, that's how else am I going to get them out there, right? Yeah. Yeah, no, they do. They take a pretty good cut. Okay, this is another peak action. I'm in the end zone. This guy is just crossing into the end zone, scoring a touchdown. So that's another example of peak action. Next. Okay. This is all sports. Faces and ball. You want to get the guy's face, if at all possible, and you want the ball in the picture. Basketball is the same way. Baseball, you don't have to have the ball, you can have the bat in hand. But for football, having the ball and having the face is really important. So this is a nice one here. It's another one. Face and ball. Now look at this one. So this is a good action shot. The guy's catching the ball in the end zone. Trouble is, his back's to me, but what are you gonna do? You know, you can't, it's still a decent shot, but think how much better it'd be if his face was turned toward me. But, it's an okay shot, but you can only shoot if you're in the wrong spot, what are you gonna do? You try to do your best to get them, but you can't always, so. Emotion. I love emotion shots. So this is my favorite guy. Now, Tom Brady, every time he came onto the field, he'd run down to the end zone and he'd go, "Let's go." So this is him doing, "Let's go." Tristan Wirfs, this was after, Bucks won the game. Now this is, I took this one in Detroit last year. Hold it, go back. Okay, so the Bucks lost. Oops, sorry. Back. Here he is. Okay, stop. Okay, so I don't know if you can really see, but very emotional, hard fought, lost the game, crying. So we're looking for emotion in our shots as well. Clean backgrounds, my favorite. It's tough to get clean backgrounds, especially if you're shooting from the sidelines, because there's always going to be people back there. This is a good one. You can see how clean the background is and how it makes the players pop out. So that's why I like shooting from the end zones, because you have a better chance of getting a clean background. So that's an example of a clean background shot. Here's another one. This is a good example of what I shoot a lot. This is a football card shot, I call it. It's a 9x12 configuration, very clean background. The guy's totally isolated. No other players' body parts in the picture, no referees, no cheerleaders, nothing. This is the money shot for me. That's what I aim for.
Question, your photos are real sharp. What do you use as a shutter speed, you know, with the lights and all that kind of stuff?
I never let it go below 2000. Yeah, anything below that, and you can get some motion blur. Well, this is a 4. This one is a 2.8 and goes up to 4. So I don't like to go much higher than, more than 4. Because I need the blurred background too for my shots. This is another.
Pretty much shooting wide open.
Yeah.
Are you using any auto ISO or anything like that?
I set the ISO, I don't like it to go over 6,000. I worry, I know even though now these cameras have capabilities of going way the heck up, but because of what we're doing, I need to minimize the noise. There aren't many stadiums where that won't work. I can usually get 2,000 shutter speed and ISO, maybe 5. The worst stadium's probably New Orleans, pretty dark. So I kind of max everything out down there, but for the most part, with the stadiums and the good lighting they have, I can get all the settings I need.
The lights in stadiums, what you're saying in stadiums.
No, not really. I mean, some of them, they have hot spots and dark spots. And like if you shoot at Coors Field, where the batters, where the batters are, that's dark. So at night, it's dark around it. No, it's not that even. You would want it to be, but it isn't really. I took this one. It's a decent picture, but I wanted to show this because of the background. So look at all those people back there and how much difference it makes to your subject when you've got a cluttered background, which is why I don't like to shoot from the sidelines much. This was a sideline shot. But sometimes you can't help it. You have to go where the picture is. But I just wanted to show you the difference between this and those other ones with the clean background. Detail shots. I throw these in. I don't sell a lot of these. I love this picture. I took this quarterback during warm up, and I just love the light on this picture. Details, you can even see the grain in the football and, you know, his hangnails and everything. I just like this one. I like to do detail shots. I don't do a lot of them, but this was a cheerleader's jacket. I just thought Tom Brady, it's about as close as you can get. This was Dak Prescott's armband. He had just come back from an injury, and I liked it because it says faith, fight, finish. So that's, sometimes they tell a story. The detail shots tell a story. Speaking of telling stories, we also try to have our photographs tell a story. So this photograph, I think this was a game that wasn't going good. And so Tom Brady's talking to his offensive coordinator, and they're having a discussion. The photograph tells a story of how this game is going for Tom. This one, for anybody who's a Broncos fan, knows that Russell Wilson and Sean Payton did not see eye to eye. And this was an exchange I got on the sidelines, which I think kind of reflects that relationship as not being the greatest. Here's another. Okay. So this guy, Otten here, I just dropped a pass. And Tom's not too happy about that. Again, telling the story of how this game is going. The Bucks lost that game. So here's another one. Okay, so this was taken during the playoffs last year. Philadelphia played Tampa. Philadelphia had a miserable game. And this picture kind of summed up the whole game. This poor guy gets hurt, gets taken off the field, but it's the end of the season for all of them, as well as, you know, the end of the game for him. So again, it's telling a story about how this game went for the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, sure.
Do you always shoot in manual, or does it make sense to use shutter priority?
That's a good question. 90% of the time I shoot in manual. Sometimes, for example, when it's a really sunny day and like when you shoot at the Broncos at the stadium there, from one end to the, if you're shooting, it depends on which way you're shooting, that, you know, it can be way, you know, blown out. And then I will maybe shoot like AV, but most of the time I shoot manual and just adjust it because I just don't trust the camera to be, you know, to be that good. I'm just very, very particular about my settings. So usually when I run down to the other end of the field, I shift everything around versus, you know, doing automatic anything. I don't like it. Any other questions? Because I'm getting ready to do, this is the show. And so this is going to run with some music. And if you have any questions, sure.
Shoot straight manual.
I don't use auto ISO. That's correct. I don't. Yeah. I don't trust it because sometimes when I've used auto, it'll go way too, you know, like the ISO will get bumped up to something crazy. And I just like to be in control. Any other questions before I start this? Okay, so you can look at these photographs. I did try to throw a few in here that probably don't meet the standards of what we were talking about, clean background, you didn't see their face. But I wanted to just show you these, just a selection of photographs. And then I'm going to show you after this, the Olympics. So, okay.
Every one of them keeping up, keeping them, it's half smile. Nothing ever comes out, comes from your family, with a downside. Whatever it be, will escape from same way, it's half smile. Say it's wrong.
Okay, let me stop this real quick. Okay, any questions about any of those?
Did you have a blow up of your picture with the guys, when you were sitting down? You had that in your living room?
It was so funny. It was hilarious. Yeah. Yeah, they just all came, the Jaguars, and they came over and they took my camera away from me. They were just playing around, they were just playing around, and they had just scored. So they came over and they saw me taking the pictures. So they came to get my camera, and I knew they wouldn't be able to figure out how to use it. But so, they were taking pictures with it. And some of my friends, other photographer friends, took those photographs. I really appreciated it because it was really funny experience. Everybody's laughing. Okay, so yeah. Oh, I do the field goal kickers. I do shoot them during pregame warmups. But they don't sell. Again, I'm shooting stuff that sells, and nobody wants a picture of a kicker. So sometimes if it's Justin Tucker, they do. I have sold a few of him. What's that? I did do the one line of scrimmage with them getting ready to snap the ball. It's really hard to get, really hard to get that, because there's the stick that's on the line of scrimmage and the referee's on the line of scrimmage, and you basically have to shoot between his legs in order to get a good line of scrimmage shot, because there's so much right on the line. It's really tough to get.
Another one from Zoom.
Uh-huh.
Says the photos are amazing. Do you get to select which teams and which games you want to photograph?
Yes. So every year, we have a draft. The 13 photographers and we have we have a draft, and every single game for the season is in the draft. And so we go through the order and we pick each game. And you always, I go into it with a list of games that I want to do. Sometimes I get them and sometimes I don't. So that's why we have a pecking order, and then you get to pick your games. And so it takes us about 3 hours to go through and select our games. So we select the games at the beginning of the season. And so the answer is yes. I end up doing the Buccaneers a lot, only because I have a home there and it's cheap for me. I don't have to fly because we pay all our expenses. So I try to get as many of those games as possible because it's. We don't go in the locker room. Again, when I was shooting editorial versus commercial, when I was shooting editorial, you have more access to things. But we have no need to go in the locker room. I was in there one time and it's not a pretty sight. Not a pretty sight. No matter what you may think, it's not. So we don't usually go in the locker rooms. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay, so the Olympics. I just wanted to show this again because this was just an amazing experience. I was very fortunate to get to do it in 2012. I haven't done one since. Credentials are extremely difficult to get. And frankly, I'm not sure I could do it now because I was 12 years younger, and it killed me then. So I don't know. I physically don't know if I could do it. It was so physically demanding to do the Olympics. Just getting from place to place. You'd have to get yourself in position hours before the event. So you'd go and you'd sit there for hours, nothing to eat. And you're sitting there and you're sitting there. When it's over, you have to run back, edit all your photos. A lot of the like NBC and CBS, they're the ones that used the photographs that I was taking. So I had to get those all uploaded at night after the events occurred. So it was extremely draining. However, as I said, it's just an amazing experience. And I wanted to share these because hopefully it will depict what an amazing thing it is to be able to shoot the Olympics.
Question.
Sure.
Did you take any camera equipment there? That's one. The second thing is they usually introduce a lot of new camera equipment for the Olympics. So you have to get, used to the equipment and knowing it. But most of what I've seen is they have these stacks of lenses, cameras, and you just, you don't have to bring, I guess you don't have to bring your equipment unless you want to. And then you just pick out whatever lenses and stuff you want to use.
I did take a ton. I took a ton of stuff. Bob helped me carry it all. I took lights. I didn't know. I mean, I'd never done it and no one told me. And so I thought I would be doing maybe even some portraits. I didn't know what I was going to be doing. So I took every camera, every lens. I took softball. I mean, I took all of it, dragged it all over there, and then got over there and found out, like you said, you could just go into the big Canon equipment room and check stuff out. So yeah, I mean, I did take it. And I was sorry, but I guess it was good to have, my own equipment. At least I was familiar with it, but,
What about the familiarity with, they introduce usually Nikon, Canon, and the other, Sony are always introducing new equipment.
yeah.
Specialized for the Olympics.
Mhm.
So there's a learning curve on some of that stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember. I think I used, I forget. I think I did check out one 500 mm lens. But mostly I used my own. So yeah, I think they were introducing the R1 camera body, which is the new Canon. That one they introduced at the Olympics. I don't think it's going to be that different from the R3, which is what I have. But yeah, you're right. They do have new equipment for the Olympics. Okay. That's it. Any questions? Thanks, thanks. No questions?
So when you were in the Olympics, so you just basically shot everything, you didn't have a specific, advance that you had to follow, or?
Because I was freelancing, the editorial photographers for the Associated Press, like the same guy did all volleyball. That's all he did. So for the editorial guys, they did have assignments, specific assignments, and they did one sport. I was able to do any sport I wanted. And what I found as time went on, the photographs that the USA excelled in, the sports like the gymnastics. I started doing a lot of gymnastics because those were selling. Those were selling the best. The USA dominated sports, the swimming, the track and field, the stuff that the USA is dominant in. Those were the ones we're selling. And so that's what I started doing. For a while, I was doing everything and I just couldn't do it all. I mean, there were so many and a lot of them were odd, odd sports that
But I saw.
I went, the ping pong, yeah, that was the first, that was the first day we were there. We did ping pong, but the guy doing I don't even know what that's called, the one sport that America doesn't even enter. And so I quit doing any that the Americans were not in because they weren't selling. So. Right, thanks.
Thank you.
Good for you to share your information.